Hello and welcome back to Singletrack Session number 143, part of the TrailManners podcast, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone listening. So I did this a little bit different. Usually I record a day or two in advance, but this time I decided to wait and do it the day of Thanksgiving. Of course, after I get in a little 8-mile run in shin to knee-deep snow, nice and fresh. We got darn near a foot overnight. Went up to the trailhead bright and early, about 7 o'clock this morning, and couldn't even get into the parking lot. It was way too, there was a pile to get into the parking lot. So I turned back, came home. Fortunate I live right next to the parkway here, which I don't run on because I'm not a huge fan of running on asphalt. But when you got a foot of snow, what the heck? So took off on a little run with some friends this morning and got in 8, and it was absolutely incredible. Much more work. It probably felt a lot more than 8, and the pace was definitely more pedestrian than normal, but the work and the heart rate spiked quite a bit. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody out there. My plans have changed a bit. I was supposed to be in Colorado Springs, but due to weather, it was not going to allow me to get there to my sister's home, which is a huge loss for me because she is the most amazing cook around, both with like legit Thanksgiving food, but also the desserts. Even though I can afford to miss some of those, I didn't want to this Thanksgiving. And then plan B was go to my other sister's home, but with the snowfall and winter snow advisory in effect for about 2 more days, that's up in the air. So I might be spending Thanksgiving here with my daughter, and we might just throw something together real quick to have a meal. So I just want to let everybody know. I think it's the timing of this is pretty good. Like I said, I mentioned in my last podcast that we just started year 5 on Sunday, which for me is pretty special. And so our first Singletrack session falling on Thanksgiving Day. I mean this when I say this, and I hope the listeners that we've had for however long you've been there, and even the new listeners, I hope you understand how truly heartfelt it is when I say I am so thankful for all of you. This podcast has meant so much to me over the years and changed my life in so many positive ways. But at the end of the day, it wouldn't be possible without people listening, and I'm not going to lie, hearing people. I see people on the street, on the trail, in a store, via text, via email, whatever, just a little word here and there goes a long way. And it definitely fuels a fire to keep it going. In fact, since Sunday, I can only just say how thankful I am, put myself on a little vulnerable side, if you will, to express just how grateful I am for all of you, and the kind words and, hey, welcome back, we missed you, it's great to have you back in our ears, all that fun stuff. So blown away by all the kind messages, and it definitely doesn't hurt when I hear those things. So thank you very much. I also had to explain something because I've had a couple conversations with people, and I think I've explained this in the past a little bit, but it might be a good time to readdress it. So I say we a lot when I talk about the TrailManners podcast, and a lot of people know Joel Hatch has been a huge, integral part of what we've done over the past 4 years. He's no longer a regular on the show, which we will have him back on. So it's like, why do you keep saying we when you say TrailManners? Why don't you say I or Eric or whatever? And the simple fact, and as silly as it may sound to some, when I say we, I mean everybody that listens to the TrailManners podcast, because I truly do feel this is such a amazing community of people that have supported the show and support each other. I've seen some friendships form. I've seen some people talking back and forth, and I hear stories back and forth about how people have connected or even reconnected in some ways. So when I say we, I just mean the entire community, because that's how I interpret what we're doing with the TrailManners podcast, because the listeners we have on the show, I take a lot of feedback from people that listen to the show and ideas. So it's definitely not a one-person program here. And besides that, I'll still have Gunner, my little 4-legged apostle of vert, with me. So you'll hear me say we, at times maybe I, but at the end of the day, it's more of a we thing. And when I say that, it's just everybody included in that. So hopefully that explains a little bit more than I don't know, just hearing it all the time. And I just want to say again to take a moment today, if you could, or when you listen to this podcast, it doesn't have to be just one day a year, to be thankful for things. And I know it's something moving forward I'm going to strive to do. I don't do resolutions. Mine are more goals. I think whatever you do is fine for sure. It's just personally, I just do more goals. And I think my goal is overall to try and make sure the people that I'm most thankful for, the people in my life that have made such a difference, I want them to know that throughout the year. Sometimes, like I mentioned, it's just good to hear things, and sometimes you don't know the effect you have on people, and you question certain things and certain situations or friendships, and this is just a way to help strengthen those and to truly let people know how much they mean to you. So that's something I challenge all of us to do on a regular basis, and not just once a year, not just twice a year during the holiday seasons, but just little things here and there, whether it's a note, a text, a handshake, a hug, a card, whatever it might be. So little challenge out there, and I think that will go a long ways to what we're doing. So what to expect with Singletrack Session moving forward. So I kind of changed the format a little bit of the show, not just this, but in general. There's going to be more structure to it, and it's not going to be anything time-based. One week it might be 15 minutes, one week it might be 45 minutes, one week it might be 60 minutes. So it really depends on what we're talking about, how many questions I get, and really what's going on in trail running in general. So as I said, this being the first one, first thing I want to talk about is our last two episodes. Our previous episodes, number 140 was myself last Sunday, where I kind of broke down what we're doing moving forward, kind of my ideas, as well as just a little bit more about myself so people can get more familiar that don't know me. And also we have the Ask TrailManners, which we'll get to later, that can kind of help with that if you're so inclined. And our latest show was 141 with a good friend, fun guy, Turtle Miller, that launched on Tuesday. Turtle's such a good dude, and he's been around the sport for a while, and he's just a solid person that does a lot for the sport. Not just as a runner, but just as a character that shows up at races, that volunteers, that's a race director, all those things. And I know he's got his capstone race coming up here in a couple weeks. Originally, I planned on being down there, but work and a few other things are preventing that from happening, unfortunately, but we'll see what happens. But if you're in the St. George area, just want to get away, I think registration's open until December 4th. His race, I believe, is the 7th, which is a Saturday. It's fantastic. Starts at noon. Support him if you can, especially if you're down in southern Utah. Just swing by. Even if you can't race or run, just swing by to say hello and offer a little bit of support there for Turtle. But again, fun time we had with him. Anytime he's on the show, you never know what you're going to get. We try and steer things here and there, but, Turtle's a wild card, and that's why we love him. So it was a fun show. Very fortunate to call Turtle a good friend of mine. And, that was our last episode. Our next episode, next Tuesday, has not been recorded yet. And when you do a podcast sometimes, we had a cancellation last week of a guest, which happens. So it does get a little spooky sometimes if you have something scheduled. I don't try and put too many in the bank because I want them to be as recent as possible. But next week, next Tuesday, if all goes well, you are going to sit down and you are going to be able to listen to the soothing voice of Megan Flipphone Martinez. That's right, one of the TrailManners iconic characters, so to say. Early on, she takes some of the greatest photos for WDYFTY, which we'll get to later, but I think I've pinned her down to be a guest on the show. She just ran the Grand Canyon rim to rim to rim, I believe. We'll talk a little bit about that, a little bit of what got her into trail running, and if there's any questions you have, if you can get them to me by Monday, I think it's December 2nd, early morning, I could even ask those questions to her. So, again, our next episode is 142 with Megan. Then we'll have a single track, and then the following week after that, we will be doing our Christmas guide, and I have some guest hosts coming on that as well. So a lot to look forward to, and then again, we'll be taking a break for Christmas and the holidays. I'll be taking a little break, hiatus, if you will, to get ramped back up for January. So as we do on Singletrack Session, we're going to lead off with this week's Beer of the Week. This week's Beer of the Week comes from Phillipsburg Brewing Company in Montana. It's Montana 1 IPA. First of all, I really like it. It comes in like an aluminum bottle, which is pretty cool. The IPA itself is pretty solid. I mean, to me, it's a standard IPA. It's not one that really knocked my socks off. It wasn't one that had notes to really differentiate too much or something maybe I'd remember too much. It's a standard IPA. It is a good beer if you're looking just for a good IPA, not overpowering, not too hoppy, 6.5%, but it's a good beer. It's a good drink, and I would recommend it for sure. It talks about juicy hops, and I think the way a lot of IPAs are going now, I wouldn't say it's as juicy as some I've had, but again, it's definitely worth a try. Everybody's tastes are different. I'm into the the juicier, florally / some fruit even, right? And if you've known me years ago, I would never drink a beer with any type of fruit in it. But the way they have these things now, with Mother Earth's killing it with these things, that's what I'm kind of into right now. So that's this week's Beer of the Week. Phillipsburg Brewing Company in Montana, Montana 1 IPA. I do recommend it, though. Just depends on what you're into. So that's the Beer of the Week. Next up, we'll talk a little race results that happened this past weekend. Not a whole lot, but I think it's good to note one in Boonesboro, Maryland, which is the iconic, say all those type of words you need to, the JFK 50 mile. It's been around for 57 runnings, which for a 50 mile, that's a long time. A lot of you didn't know 50 milers are probably around then. I'm not 57 years old yet, but it's been around a long time. It's just a super iconic race and it brings out just some speed, just some friggin' speed. For example, this year for the women, top 3, Cecilia Flory in 6:46. Listen to the first 3 finishers on the women's side. We're talking a 50-mile race. This isn't a marathon. This isn't a 10K. This isn't like a group. This is unbelievably tight for a 50-miler. Cecilia Flory, 6 hours, 46 minutes. Caroline Veltri, 6 hours, 47 minutes. And Ellie Pell, 6 hours, 48 minutes. Top 3 difference, 2 minutes, right? 2 to 3 minutes. That's incredible. So congratulations to the women there. On the men's side, super tight again. Not as tight, but differentiated between 4 to 2 minutes. Number 1 was Seth Ruling in 5:38. Zach Bitter, 5:42, so 4 minutes behind. And then Luke Paulson in 5:44, which is 2 minutes behind Zach. Again, these are 50 milers, so that's super, super tight. Crazy speed. I can't even fathom going that fast with that many miles and just the pace. So congratulations, everybody there. Again, that's just top 3. And if you're new to the show, that's kind of what we do is we'll do the top 3. Maybe we'll throw in some names of the show that we know, and we try to cover races that took place just within the last week. And it's hard, right? Because there's so many races anymore. I mean, there was like an Xterra World Championship this past weekend, and there were some other races scattered throughout. But we're going to just kind of focus on 1 or 2. And again, being JFK and just so iconic, we thought we'd touch base there. A little bit next week. Next week is a big race as well. You got the Ultra Cape Town race in South Africa. Some huge names coming out for this, and one of this guy's favorite trail runner / ultra runner names ever is running that race. Some of you may remember Paddy O'Leary, right, from Ireland. He'll be racing Francois Dehane, who I call just Frank. Who else? We got Cody Reed. He's going to be towing the line. Seth Swanson. There's a lot of solid names in that race next week on the men's side. The women's side, again, stout. Lucy Bartholomew, Amanda Basham, Landy Grayling, Beth Pascal. Some really fast runners as well on the women's side. So we're excited to see how that one pans out next week in South Africa. Big race. It is 100K. It's the 20th. Or excuse me, I don't know. We'll forget about it. Anyway, 100K. So we'll see how people do there. I like Amanda Basham at that 100K distance, but I know Lucy's been training pretty hard. So on the women's side, that's where I'm at. On the men's side, super, super hard on that one to pick against Frank, just because he is an absolute beast. But deep down, I'm looking for Paddy O'Leary. He's my guy. He is my ultra trail running name ever. Just Paddy O'Leary, right? everybody right now in their head, whether you thought so or not, you practiced your Irish accent. I know you did. Don't deny it. But yeah, so that'll be pretty cool. Also want to touch base a little bit. We talked about last week is TrailManners does have a new community page on Facebook. I'm really excited about the people that are kind of joining in on that, and it's just a safe place to ask questions. You're not going to get a whole lot of snidey, trolly junk because I'll be the first one to give that the boot. But it's a good place to come, good safe if you're looking for answers, if you have some questions, whether it's race related, whether it's gear related, whether it's just anything related. Hopefully you can get some good answers. They're a really diverse group already in there as far as we got some fast / I don't know. We say elite, right? I mean, that's just the word. So we got that. And there's guys like myself, some other people getting into the sport. So it's a really good mix and it's just really genuine good people. So I invite everybody over to the TrailManners community page, and I think you can follow that through our Facebook page at TrailManners. And also, while we're at it, while we're talking about it, if you get time, head over to TrailManners, maybe rate us a little bit. That kind of helps, just so people know what they're getting into. So what's next? We also have a Strava page. So our Strava page is just TrailManners. Right now, there's 608 people on there. And every week what I like to do is just kind of cover who crushed it in the distance, the total run time, and the climbing every week. So this past week, distance-wise, was Mr. Jeff Browning, 106.6 miles, followed by Dan Hawk at 100.2, and Shalise Morgan, 85.7. So that was the top three in distance. Run time, Dan Hawk, 23.19, Jeff Browning, 21.29, Andy Noyes, 20.56, and climbing, we are back to this little apostle of vert, this climbing beast, Erin Hill, 24,987 feet. And those that aren't familiar, you hear her name a lot in the top three. She just climbs and climbs. Next up was Jeff Browning, 21,633, and third was Tristan Lee, 21,266. So our friend Jeff Browning went 1 in distance, 2 in run time, and 3 in climbing. So he kind of topped the charts there. And as you know, I'm pretty sure all of you know Jeff, but he's been on the show a few times. So that's our Strava group of the week. Again, go ahead and come on over to that. It's I don't know, is what it is, I guess. Nothing we can do about it as far as do fun stuff, but it's kind of fun. Next up, folks, what you've been waiting for, the weekly WDYFTY Awards. So WDYFTY, those that aren't familiar, is over on Facebook. Every Sunday I post something to say, hey, where did your feet take you? WDYFTY, WDYFTY. Post a photo where it's at. I love to see where people run. It's really inspiring to see things that normally we would never get to see. I mean, we do that on our own, and that's why I love trail running so much, is you see things that people just don't get the opportunity to get out and see. But this is a way to get out and see, people to see what other people are doing and where. So WDYFTY Awards. The WDYFTY Awards, when I say awards, because you get a limited edition trucker hat. The logo is done. I am just waiting. I swear I'm waiting for the printing. I'm really hoping this week, to be honest with you, because I've ordered the hats. I think we're locked in. So I think we're good. I bought about 60 of them. I give one away a week for free. All you have to do, and again, this is only through the podcast. You do it on social media, but you have to listen to the podcast. So the winner, every week I announce, and I use their photo for the release of the Singletrack Session. So you have to email me, manners@trailmanners.com. I have to get your physical shipping address for me to ship it out. I don't contact you to send it out. I rely on you to send me the information. So every week I pick a winner. That winning photo is the cover for our Singletrack Session. And yeah, that's pretty much it. What are the rules? Well, the rules are this. I get to pick. Whatever. Sometimes I let other people pick, or my daughter. But it's a lot of times it's places I want to be, or I feel totally connected to. There's things I like. I'm not going to get into that. If you've listened, you probably have an idea what those are. And there's things that are going to get you disqualified. Pictures of rattlesnakes, you're not going to win. Pictures of just roads or asphalt, you're not going to win. It's going to have to be special. So we had a few this week, probably one of our down weeks, to be honest with you, on how many came through as far as number-wise. But I like to kind of go through most of those, and always returning to put up a good post is Andrew Giles. He was in Wedgwood Ravine, Edmonton, Alberta. We had some great places posted. Jen Haas Walker was at Palisades Peak in Irwin, Idaho. Beautiful shot. Alex Terrell, Park City, Utah, with her dog in Round Valley. Chad Smith always posts winning photos. This one's from New York, and it's gorgeous, to be honest with you. Mark Davis, Lake Blanche in Utah. Jeremy Haddock, who always posts, who we appreciate. Castle Rock, Fremont Island in the Great Salt Lake. We also have Preston Wood, friend of the show. He was in Ogden Canyon checking things out. Garth Harris, Indian Trail, Ogden, Utah, like 22nd Street Trailhead, which is my home trailhead. Lee Moss always has good ones. He's in the foothills of Salt Lake City. Eric Lewis in Kentucky Lucky Chicken, and yes, that is a trail name there, Kentucky Lucky Chicken. Jason Child, great photographer, some of my greatest shot right here, has the Tetons in the background. He's in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Annetta Zapatella, and I apologize if I slaughter your name, from Ohio, has a great shot. Chris Flandero Williams, Goshen, I don't know where that is, so I apologize. Wesley Ross, Fisher Towers, great shot, Wesley. Christopher Pack always has a post, some great shots. Dominguez, Colorado, Dominguez Canyon. Tara Warren, here in she is in Hawaii. That's Now Mountain, Nounou. So pronounce it how you want. I said Now because that just sounds kind of cool. And again, another one, Alex Hill. Has a great one on Antelope Island. But the winner this week, the winner of the Woody Footy, the relaunch, the Singletrack Session 143, comes all the way from the Lake District, Cumbria, England. That's right, England, because we are international, folks. Beautiful shot. Again, I picture myself here because it looks absolutely incredible. Pete Faulkner is the winner this week. Pete, thank you so much for this shot. It is absolutely stunning. And thank you, everybody. Keep posting. I love the photos. Spread the word to your running friends. I just want to see nice photos of where you run and see where your feet took you. So thank you again for everybody, and congratulations, Pete, for this week's winner of the Woody Footies, which I might add, okay, so everybody gets a hat. Well, we have a sponsor that takes care of that for us. So the hat is bought, paid for, everything. And the sponsor for our Woody Footies for this year, and even longer, because we haven't had them, but we want to prop them, is Turtle Miller from Caldwell Banker in St. George. Dude kills it. I could not imagine buying a home down there and not working with Turtle. He is a stand-up dude, someone you can 1,000,000% trust, but also someone you're going to have fun with. He's going to take care of you. So if you know anybody that's looking in St. George, maybe even for a little, getaway home for the off season, like right now, you wish you're in St. George if you're from northern Utah, but some may not. Some like the snow more. Check out Turtle, and if you see him, and I know a lot of you do, tell him thank you for being the sponsor for this year's Woody Footy Awards. And again, look for this Sunday to post every single Sunday. Love to see your photos, and thank you for participating. All right, our next segment, which is going to be part of our show, is called Ask TrailManners. This is something you can email me, manners@trailmanners.com. Any question, I will get those questions answered. If I don't know the answer, I'll do my darndest to find it I have a great group of people I have no problem reaching out to and bugging to get some information from. So this is an Ask Trail Manners. I answer these every week if questions come through. Just email me, manners@trailmanners.com. First one's from Marty in Montana. Marty says, what is the hardest part of recording your podcasts? Oh, Marty, that's a loaded question. For the simple fact, the hardest part for me is my own voice. So I go through after I record a show, whether I'm doing a single track solo or I have another one with guests, and I mix them. So I have to listen to them to make sure the sound quality is okay. And yes, I miss some things. Make sure that it just flows properly, throw some intro, outro, all that stuff. The problem is it's my voice I have to hear over and over and over again. And I know we always say, I don't like the sound of my voice. I don't. I'm like, you're kind of a goofball. I talk to myself a lot, but it's usually internally. So what do you call that when you talk to yourself? Creepiness. Yeah, there it is. You don't have like a tone, right? It's a thought. So you're hearing your thought. You know it's coming from you, but it doesn't have necessarily a tone, or depends on the mood I'm in. I can put my inner thought into like Kermit the Frog voices or whatever, right, to make it fun. But when I'm word vomiting like I do when I podcast, it's my voice I hear. So I think the hardest part is listening to my voice all the time. Next up would probably be just the scheduling. Like I said, you are setting up a schedule with people, and life is crazy. So people get sick, people have work, people have all these things. So when you're planning a podcast, knowing that, hey, I want to launch every Tuesday, every Thursday, my guests launch on Tuesday. For whatever reason, if you're like Monday, I'm recording with Megan for a Tuesday release. If something she can't make it, then what, right? So I think that's the other thing, is it's a little nervy to make sure that's going to happen. But once it does, it flows pretty good. I've got a good little calendar of guests coming up. I think I'm booked out through January for sure. After that, we'll see where we go. But I think those are the hardest things. Is number one, just listening to my own voice when I mix. And number two is just ensuring that we have a schedule set up for the podcast. So great question, Marty. Really appreciate it. Next up is Andrew from Oregon. Andrew says, do you do any off-season cross-training like skiing or biking? Another great question, and I think we've covered some winter training or some off-season type training. I do. This year I'm super excited. Little toot my own horn. I'm probably better fit now than I've been in quite some time. I am healthy, injury-free. That was me knocking on wood. And I'm also getting back into the gym. So starting on Monday, December 2nd maybe, I'll be back to Bomber Athlete. And those that listen to the show, that's Joel Hatch's gym where he trains people, and he does such an amazing job. In fact, when I trained there a few winters, probably the best seasons I've had, especially without injury and just feeling good, feeling strong. So I'm going to be back in working with Joel. The first couple of weeks are always torture just because I'm not a weightlifter. I don't do a whole lot of stuff in the off anyway. I have stuff in my front room like kettlebells and stuff, but those are more just if people come over, they think I work out. Kind of like, I don't know, to keep my carpet down maybe, I don't know. But I'm excited to get back in with Joel. And I think part of it is Joel knows what kind of stuff a trail/ultra runner needs. He's not going to hurt us. He's not going to focus on things that aren't necessarily something that will benefit us too much, because I'm not there to get ripped. I'm not there to get, this big chest, big arms, anything like that. I'm there to get fit for what I do. So that's why I'm really excited, is I know when I go in, it's going to be safe. I'm going to have a great experience, and I'm going to walk out of there, on the right path. So I do that type of cross training, and I guess the best way to explain it, it's not CrossFit, but it's similar. There's kettlebells, it's a lot of resistance training, it's, just a lot of healthy, good stuff. I don't do a lot of I don't bike in the winter. I don't have a stationary bike. I do have a mountain bike. This winter I might do some fat biking and things. As far as skiing goes, I really do want to get in some Nordic skiing this winter, but it's typically not something I've done in the past. But I think this year I'll just be back in the gym starting, probably do December, January, February for sure, and play it by ear once March hits. It's twice a week, Monday, Wednesdays, which is plenty, also throwing in running. So definitely don't want to overdo it with a big year I have scheduled. So thank you, Andrew. There's so many things you can do, though, in the off-season to cross-train. I'm a firm believer in it. I think it's good to work different muscles, give certain muscles a rest, maybe back off the mileage a little bit to recuperate. Where I've been out for so long, 6+ months this year with an Achilles problem, I don't think I need to worry about that. I think I can train running and everything right through the winter all the way up into the bear in September. So I'm not looking for any downtime at this point because I think I'm as rested as I'm going to be. For me so far, it's just been about building my base and making sure that I'm not going too much too quickly. I want to stay healthy. That's the goal. Change my diet, changed a lot of things in my life, and I feel healthy. So hopefully working out with Joel again, we'll get that. And I also want to give a little shout out, and why I'm at it, because I know a great friend of the show, just a person that I admire, that's just a solid person, Natalie Sheffield. She started her own business and gym. So she's in Salt Lake City area, and if you're looking for someone to do some training for you, she does trail run. Someone you could absolutely trust. Check that out as well. And if you have any questions or want more, just go ahead and email me and we can get that set up as well. Last question for the Ask TrailManners is a good one. It's from Stacy in Idaho. Stacy says, where did the name Gunner come from? As many people know, it changed the logo a little bit. Gunner is my golden doodle, my buddy, who he's been injured, a little pad issue. But he's my best bud. He's a lap dog, 70-pound lap dog. Where did his name come from? So Gunnar spelled Gunnar, not ER. And his name came from my favorite soccer team in England. It's Arsenal. They're called the Gunners. They are having a down year. They do need a new coach. But I've just loved watching them for as long as I can remember, to be honest with you. So that's where he came from. They're called the Gunners, and his name came down to coach or gunner. So that was the two choices I was going to go between. And I didn't know I'd get back into coaching, but I always thought that would be hard if we were at a park or I was doing something. People said, "Paying coach," and he'd freak him out. So his name is Gunnar, and that's where it came from. That's the background. My favorite soccer team in England. So that's it for Ask TrailManners. Next up, we have a new segment to the show because we're going to stay super structured for everybody to know what they're looking forward to. This one is going to be changed up a little bit every week. It's going to be my thought of the week or my fun fact of the week. Again, this is something to a little bit get to know me. I'm going to throw little tidbits in every week. This is something we had planned. So this week's TrailManners fun fact of the week, a little bit about me. My favorite part of Thanksgiving meal is the mashed potatoes, but they've got to be real and they got to have a little chunk in them. They can't be completely creamy. They can't be a package mix. They've got to be the real deal, made with some cream, some heavy, thick, you know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm talking about, with a little chunks in them. You can't be completely creamy, right? Not hard, just you know what you're eating. So TrailManners fun fact of the week. That is it for you. And I think that's pretty much it for the show this week. Again, we're not going to worry about time. We're just going to worry about what we're talking about. I just want to throw out a few more things that we do have a Patreon account that you can go ahead, if you wouldn't mind supporting. That helps the show. You can give as much as $2 a month. There's different levels all the way up, and we're going to get a lot more active with that this go around. But any support you can do there would be much appreciated. Just help to keep the show going. So you can check us out. I think it's Patreon.com/TrailManners. We also have a donate button on our website, and not afraid for ask for that once in a while, so we'll throw that out there. And if you have a little time, head over to iTunes and give us a rating or review. You can either just click the stars or you can leave a comment. And I'm going to tell you right now, we haven't had a comment for a while, but that was one of mine and Joel's favorite things, is just hearing what people had to say about the podcast. Generally positive, so if you want to keep it that way, totally cool with it. But head over to iTunes and do that for us. And just a little sign-off for you this week. Thanks again for listening to the TrailManners podcast. I cannot express how happy I am to be back. And if I see you out and about or you see me, please introduce yourself. Please say hello. I'd love to get to know people even better that have supported the show and still do. And I understand sometimes you don't listen to podcasts. Absolutely. And sometimes you're not caught up with mine. Never going to hurt my feelings, right? I feel absolutely lucky if you even consider listening to it, to be honest with you. And I hope you do enjoy the show. So last off, little sign off for us. Don't worry about what's next, folks. Experience now, right? I think we all need to do a better job of experience where we are right now. Who cares what's next? At the end of the day, don't worry about a 5-year plan. Worry about what's happening now. Experience what you're doing now. Love life. Love the people around you. Make sure people understand how grateful you are for them in your life. And our lives would be so much more enriched with happiness. So, again, who cares what's next? Experience now. This is Eric Manning with the TrailManners podcast, Singletrack Session number 143 on Thanksgiving Day 2019. Thanks for listening. Love you all, and we'll talk to you next week.